What's up out there in football land? It's your girl, Sonya. It's a special edition. Today is Wednesday, November 15th, 2023. And this is a very special edition of All Things Football from a Lady's Perspective. Shout out to J. Cole and Gucci, the greatest states in the United States, North Carolina and Georgia, my two home states. I am introducing myself to some and reintroducing myself to some others. Thank you to my loyal fans who have been following me since 2016 and allow me to introduce myself to my new audience members here on Roku. Thank you so much to the production team of Northeast Sports Production. I am so excited to be here tonight. This is the Week 10 recap of the NFL, and we're going to be doing a special treat tonight, delving into a little bit of college action. Let's get ready to get started. Welcome. Breaking news out of Cleveland today. Deshaun Watson, season-ending injury, you guys. Shoulder fracture on his throwing arm. Now, it was confirmed that he did get injured in Sunday's game, and the MRI actually provided those results today. And there's been a little bit of controversy up there because for the first time in a long time, if the season ended today, all of the AFC North teams are sitting at 500. So PJ Walker, is he going to be the quarterback starting? No. The rumor is that it's confirmed that DTR will be starting, even though he has not played any actual game snaps. Now, you guys know PJ Walker is a former Carolina Panther, and he also came from the XFL League, so he comes with a lot of experience. But seems like that is not what the Browns wanted to do. And additionally, this was Deshaun's only sixth game of the season. So we wish him well, but he is out for the remainder of the season. He will be undergoing repair surgery on that shoulder. Now, let me go ahead and get you guys caught up with the Week 10 recap. It started off with Thursday Night Football, the Carolina Panthers versus the Chicago Bears in Chicago, the Windy City. I have on my Bryce Young jersey, you guys. He is the quarterback, the rookie quarterback, that is. The Panthers lost another one. Let's look at the stats. Who would have ever thought that Bryce Young would have been as successful as he is, considering everything going on? But he is making it happen, you guys. Bryce Young has a lot of heart, and he has the mindset as a rookie quarterback, and that is what actually got him where he is. Now, we did lose the game, but I'm still pounding. Now, as of the Bears game, he had 55.3% completion, and he only had 185 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, though, and that brings his ranking up to 66.4 per this ending of this week. Now, I do want to take note of another quarterback in 2021, Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, actually was kind of in the same situation as Bryce is, but you know, right now he's sitting at the top of the AFC South, sitting pretty. So it just lets you know that rookie quarterbacks just need a little bit of time to come into their own. Some comparison stats of the two. And y'all know I'm a girl that always keeps her notes because I want to make sure that I have all the facts that you all need. Bryce had 8 touchdowns as of today's date. Trevor Lawrence, as of this week in 2021, also had 8 touchdowns. Bryce had 7 interceptions. Trevor also had 9 interceptions. Bryce was ranked 62.8%, and Trevor was ranked at 59.5% as for his completions. The quarterback ranking, 75.9 for Bryce and 73.6 for Trevor. And the record of the Panthers, which with Bryce at the moment is 1-7. Trevor was 2-6 this time in 2021. So let's just look at how they are. You know that he's already been compared with the likes of the Manning. And we know that a lot of other quarterbacks have had the same plight, but they are more successful. So he just needs his growing pains, guys. Now, there's been a lot of other stuff happening, you guys. The Bills offensive coordinator is out the door. Josh Allen has now thrown 11 interceptions as of date. No, that's not a lot, but you guys know the Bills came out hard. I will say this. Damar Hamlin did suit up and took a snap. First time he took a snap in that game since that cardiac arrest moment earlier this year. We wish him the best, and it was so good to see him in uniform. There is a quarterback fiasco in almost every team. I know I say every team, but it's a lot of teams. The Giants, the Falcons, Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, now the Browns. That is a high played injury, guys. But they're coming back. Kirk Cousins is coming back. He got his cast off yesterday. He's looking good. Aaron Rodgers is still on slate to return mid-December, according to him. He's determined, and he's definitely able to do it. Now, let's look at some of the other big games that we got coming up here. That are rankings. Let's take a look at our rankings, and then we will go ahead and look at our overall picture that's coming up next Sunday. Now, right now for the NFC South, my division, the Saints are 5-5, you guys. The Buccaneers are 4-5. The Atlanta Falcons are 4-6, and my beloved Panthers are 1-8. That's for the NFC South. And it's still up for grabs. They're literally all over the place. And like they always say, it's any given Sunday. And that is definitely my mantra as well. Now, the next division, the NFC East, the Eagles, they've had a few close calls, but they look like they're going to be formidable. 8-1, Jalen Hurts and company. Now, the Dallas Cowboys are a close second. And you guys, the Panthers play the Cowboys on Sunday. And there have been some upsets that have occurred before. Dallas is going to Carolina. That's a big rivalry, even without them being division rivals. It's always been because they're the long time members of the North Carolina community that before we had the Panthers were Cowboys fans. So it's kind of like their second home, but they're playing on Sunday. Cowboys are 6-3 right now. The Washington Commanders are 4-6, and the New York Giants are 2-8. The NFC West, the 49ers, definitely coming back from their nice bye, 6-3. They are tied with the Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith and company. Can you believe Geno is getting it done out there? The LA Rams, 3-6. And the Arizona Cardinals, welcome back Kyler Murray, 2-8. Now, Kyler did get them that win, so kudos to him. It was good to see him back after 10 months of being out of the league. The NFC North, Dan Campbell and those Lions still roaring, 7-2. The Vikings not far behind, 6-4, even without Kirk Cousins. They are definitely getting it done up there. The Green Bay Packers, 3-6. Now, it was predicted that they may not do that well after Aaron Rodgers left, but we all kind of were a little hopeful. But they are 3-6, you guys. And the Chicago Bears, because they got a win with us as well, they are now 3-7. Even though they're at the bottom of that division. Now, let's skip on over to the AFC and see where your team may be. This is going to be quite a competition. The Miami Dolphins from the AFC East are 6-3. The Buffalo Bills have now dropped to 500, 5-5 amongst that firing of their offensive coordinator. The Jets are 4-5. And the New England Patriots, for the first time in a long time, are 2-8. And the rumor mill is saying that for the first time, Bill Belichick may be on the hot seat. Now, I don't know what that means, but that's the rumor mill. And they've actually even come up with some possible destinations that Bill could go to should Robert Kraft pull the plug. I don't honestly see that happening. This guy's got like almost 2 hands of rings, you guys. Do you really think that that would happen? But anything's possible in the NFL. The AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs, sitting on top of that division, 7-2. The Los Angeles Raiders are, the Las Vegas Raiders, I need to do a push-up, are 5-5, just at 500. The Chargers are 4-5. The Denver Broncos are 4-5. And there's been quite a few upsets, y'all. I actually was excited to see the Broncos pull out that win. Like, Russell Wilson did look like his former self. So they're still under 500, but they're barely under 500. They're like 4-4-4. So 1 game away. The AFC North, Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, showing why he negotiates his own salary and getting it done. 7-3. The Pittsburgh Steelers are slowly turning their season around. 6-3. Mike Tomlin showing and proving that, hey, he's in it for the long run. And with the veteran status that he has, he definitely has turned them around, because honestly, you guys, when they first started out, I wasn't that sure. Cleveland Browns right on their heels, tied 6-3 in the division. And the Cincinnati Bengals are 5-4. So like I told you guys, the entire division is above 500. And if the season ended today, every one of them would have playoff contention. Now, the AFC South, Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence and them, 6-3, looking pretty good. The Texans, CJ Stroud, Offensive Player of the Week. Definitely rookie of the year nominee in my book. And a lot of people are saying that, proving that he is the leader in a rookie that the Texans needed. 5-4, you guys, above 500. So kudos to the Texans. The Indianapolis Colts, despite losing their rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson, who is still recovering, they are 5-5. And the Tennessee Titans, shocking King Henry down there, 3-6. Now, I know a lot of you all have been really, really, if you put in for your time with your fantasy, you put in for your power rankings, you bet on your games, you do your pick'ems, all of that. And one game is all it takes to have a bust. So let's take a look at some matchups that we have coming up, starting with our Thursday night matchup on Amazon Prime. Shout out to them. Tomorrow night is going to be a big game, you guys. And if you don't have Amazon Prime, I'm thinking you should be able to catch it, I think, on NFL Network or something to that effect. But it's going to be a matchup. It's going to be the matchup of the game. So let's take a look at what we got. We've got tomorrow, November 16th, 2023. The Thursday night matchup is going to be none other than, drumroll please, the Bengals and the Ravens. The Bengals and the Ravens, like, what a matchup. These two have had their own little kin rivalry for quite a while. But is Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon going to really get it together? Now, they've both been kind of battling injuries here and there, but the Ravens look solidly decent. That's going to kick off week 11. There's a money line, of course. Vegas always has the betting odds. But that game is kicking off tomorrow night, 8:15 on Amazon Prime. Make sure you kick it off so that you can watch and know. And no, I have not made my pick yet. My heart is always with the Bengals, but I have to go with the facts. Facts speak over here. So week 11, I'm going to give you guys a rundown of who you need to be watching out for. As I talked about, the Bengals and Ravens are playing tomorrow. Now, Sunday, November 19th. Can y'all believe Thanksgiving is next week? The week of Thanksgiving. It's going to be a plentiful amount of games. Sunday is going to kick off the Steelers and Browns. That's going to be at 1 o'clock. The Dolphins and Raiders are also playing at 1 o'clock. The Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions, definitely an NFC North matchup, 1 p.m. as well. Titans and Jags, 1 o'clock. The Chargers and the Packers are also at 1 o'clock. And Cowboys and Panthers, 1 o'clock. Cardinals and Texans, 1. Giants and Commanders, 1. Buccaneers and 49ers are at 4:05. That's going to be a really interesting game as well. Baker Mayfield has been looking really solid down there in Tampa. And I'm going to be honest, you guys, I miss him in Carolina. Like, it's just amazing how it feels like some of our players have gone and flourished. DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, to name a couple, okay? Seattle Seahawks versus the Rams is going to also be on at 4:25 on Sunday. Jets and Bills are playing at 4:25. The Vikings and Broncos will be doing the Sunday night feature at 8:20, but also the Eagles and Chiefs are going to be following them on Monday night, November 20th. That's going to be an amazing game. That is Super Bowl caliber rematch status, you guys. So if you don't make any other games, I'm sure you definitely want to see that game on Monday night. Now, week 12 is going to kick off on Thursday, Thanksgiving night. And you guys know the Cowboys always have a spot on Thanksgiving night. They are playing at 4:30 on Thursday versus the Commanders for an NFC East matchup. The Packers and Lions for an NFC North matchup are playing at 12:30. And the 49ers versus the Seahawks are playing at 8:20 on Thanksgiving night. So right after y'all finish all your meals, make sure you stay awake so you can watch that 8:20 game. And at 3 o'clock, the Miami Dolphins are playing the Jets on Friday. So we've got a lot of football going. And as you guys know, we're over the halfway point. So anything can happen. This is the time that teams are solidifying their playoff status. Unfortunately, this is the time of season that a lot of quarterbacks and key players are out. We've got some key defensive players that are out. Grady Jarrett doesn't say when he's come back for the Atlanta Falcons, but he is out. He's had a small surgery as well. And quite a few other players. Matter of fact, Taylor Heineke in that last game with the Falcons took an injury. So Desmond Ridder came back. Now, I'm not sure if Desmond is going to be remaining there or if Taylor's going to continue to play. It depends on the injury. And Falcon fans were kind of like, they wanted Taylor anyway. But Arthur Smith was on the record as saying, nope, I'm not benching Desmond. And even when y'all see him benched, he's not benched because of performance. He's just benched because I just want to put Taylor in. So, okay, whatever you got to say, Arthur, whatever it equates to, just get your wins, just get your wins. Derek Carr was carted off for the New Orleans Saints. And I thought Taysom Hill was going to come in, but guess who they put in, you guys? Jameis Winston. Jameis looked good for a couple of plays, and then he didn't. So not sure at the moment about Derek Carr. Looks like he's, probably going to practice, to be honest. There's no news that he's actually out. So the Saints, their quarterback, Daniel Jones from the Giants, has been out for a little bit. And welcome back, by the way, Deebo Samuel. I'm talking about key players here that have either overcome their injuries or are still recovering from their injuries. Deebo Samuel came back from the 49ers and looked amazing. Blew my fantasy ports out the water. So thank you. I'm so glad he's back. And Travis Kelce and all them, they want to buy. So they're coming back. They're going to be looking good. Now, some more news that you guys may be interested in. Bill O'Brien that left Buffalo. The rumor is Keelan Moore may be a switch out. Really? Oh my goodness. And people are saying that if Belichick does leave, it's possibly a setup. I told you guys before, everyone said that it was the Belichick way when he had Tom Brady. But Tom proved us all wrong that it was not the Belichick way. It was the Brady way. Because Brady came to Tampa, who for a long time were at the bottom of the NFC South, raised him up, brought his own talent in Antonio Brown, and went to the Super Bowl and won. Like, who does that? Tom Brady, that's who. And you don't got to love him. You don't got to like him, but you got to respect him. He's a heck of a player and clearly one like we may never see for quite a while. All right, you guys, let's talk about some other players right now who are in the injury zone right now. From the Vikings, we got Mr. Jefferson, Mr. Gritty himself, who is still out. But we don't know. I heard that he was trying to come back, but they were like, he's not going to come back until he's fully back. Like, these players, I'm sure they want to come back. They want to put their heart in it, and think about it. This is where their heart and soul is. However, you have to put your body first. And at the end of the day, what goes on could be lasting effects long time from now. All right. So let's look at what we got going on. Looks like Taylor Heineke is questionable for week 12 with that hamstring. I told you guys he got hurt in that game Sunday, the Falcons. And in fact, a lot of teams this time of year have an extensive amount of injuries, an extensive amount. The bodies take a lot of hits. You guys know that. For anybody out there that's played football, it's just a common thing. We're going into week 11 and we have 18 weeks of this. So that's to be expected. All righty. So let's talk about switching gears just a little bit. And tonight I'm going to have a special treat for you guys because I'm going to actually delve into a little bit of college. So for the first time ever, since this is my first time being on this platform, I'm going to also introduce a little bit of college football, the SEC, and all that good stuff, and talk about some of our top rankings from the CFP, and go from there. So now, the Jets coach, Robert Saleh, is saying that in the end, he's going to let Aaron Rodgers determine his own timeline for coming back. He's not going to even get in the way because looks like Aaron is already pinpointed like, hey, I'm coming back. End of story. Nobody's going to bother me. I'm going to do it. So he's going to come back. And so we just wish him well. and we'll look out for it because we all know how Aaron has played. And it was really sucky that the very first time they had a possession of the ball, that he gets injured. Like, come on, the Jets really went all in. They were on Hard Knocks, and it just was really, really a bummer, even if you're not a fan, to know that someone went that hard to try to get in and then, missed out. All right, let me congratulate real quick Travis Kelce. He is the all time franchise leader for most receiving yards in Chiefs history. The Taylor effect, you think? Maybe not. But Travis just went to Argentina to support Taylor, and she actually switched some of the lyrics of one of her songs to greet him. And she went out in the crowd and kissed him at the end of her song. So it's official, you guys. Now, if you didn't think before with her being in the booth with Mama Kelsey and all that it was official, it's official now. All right. I'm going to come back to one of my stories, but on the Panthers news, real quick, J.C. Horn and Ian Thomas have been returned from IR. We're so happy about that. And I told you how good and proud I am of C.J. Stroud. He is the only rookie in the last 40 years to lead consecutive game-winning drives in the final 2 minutes of regulation. So a shout out to C.J. Stroud. And another history fact while I'm at it. Week 10 is the first week in NFL history that 6 games in the same week were all decided by a game-winning field goal. So congratulations to all those teams, including Denver, that won their game by a game-ending field goal. That's your fact for this week. Congratulations to those. Now, a little bit of dirt for you guys. Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Zay Jones was reportedly arrested on a charge of domestic battery, causing bodily harm on Monday evening, according to the Duval County jail records. And this was obtained by ESPN's Michael DeRocco. He's 28 and he was detained by the sheriff's office in Jacksonville and booked into jail around 6:30 p.m. The charge is considered to be a first-degree misdemeanor. Now, he's reportedly scheduled to appear in court today. I don't have an update about what happened, but the Jacksonville Jaguars did issue a statement confirming that they were aware of the wide receiver's arrest and they will be investigating it accordingly. So, yeah, he got into that, and then it's been a lot of arrests, y'all. It's everything from DUIs to battery. We had the Saints player throwing bricks at people. Just a lot. I don't know. This it's a stressful job to be an NFL player, I'm sure. But you gotta handle yourselves better off the field, y'all. Y'all making all this money that most people would never see. And you're risking it for this? Like, okay, really? All right, Nick Chubb, because we're bouncing here with the injuries and everything. He is recovering well from his second surgery on yesterday, and like I said, that's kind of like one of those iffy things. I will tell you guys, unfortunately, Cowboys linebacker Leighton Van Esk is out for the remainder of the season, and his career is in question due to a neck injury. Now, this was according to Jerry Jones, and he announced this to 105.3 The Fan. So we wish him the well and all the best. Definitely hoping, because the health is the priority here. The Green Bay Packers have a little bit of good news. They have a Hall of Fame inductee in Clay Matthews. He is the number one on the franchise all-time list with 83.5 sacks, and he's a 6-time Pro Bowler. And so he, moving up there. So congratulations to Clay for that Hall of Fame induction. And TJ Watts has passed his brother JJ Watts for most sacks in the first 100 career NFL games. Look at the records. Reggie White had 105 in 100 games. TJ Watt had 88 in 96 games. And JJ Watt had 87.5. I don't know how you get a 0.5, how you get a half sack in 100 games. So little brotherly rival there. But yeah, definitely interesting to see all of that. Now, let me bounce back real quick to you guys about this Cleveland information, because this is going to be really big. DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson, is who is going to be started over PJ Walker. And that game is vital because it's against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You guys, we don't make the decisions. We just look at it. And it's like folks on Twitter are going ham, like, why? PJ Walker has played, and he has played this season, and he looked decent. But they're saying it's not always about that. It's going to be a clear difference. So we're going to definitely be following that to see. Now let's check into some of our other news before we move on over. Texans running back Devin Singletary and CeeDee Lamb of the Cowboys are the highlight players of the week. They definitely got all the stats all the way up in their leagues coming up that this past week. And so congratulations to both of those. Cowboys riding high. Now Singletary rushed for a career high of 150 yards, rushing yards, on 30 carries to prepare the Texans past the Cincinnati Bengals 30-27. I honestly could not believe it. And that busted up my pick'ems because I just knew the Bengals were going to get that done. And they didn't, but no worries. It's another day to play football. Singletary averaged 5 yards per carry and added a 6-yard touchdown run during his sensational showing. Now, the offensive player of the week for the NFC, CeeDee Lamb. Okay, Lamb garnered headlines after Sunday by tabbing himself the best wide receiver in the league, like self-proclaimed. Okay, his performance in the Cowboys 49-17 mollywhopping. Y'all know I use that word a lot over the New York Giants, their divisional rivals, certainly spoke to that. Lamb holding 11 receptions for 151 yards by himself and added a 14-yard touchdown as well. Now, speaking of players, Younghoe Koo, the kicker of the Atlanta Falcons, has been documented that he has gained 43.4% of the points that the Atlanta Falcons have scored this entire season, which means all of their games, they literally were hanging in the balance and claimed, at least in my opinion, by the field goal. So kudos to Younghoe Koo, the kicker. Okay. That's a lot. All right, you guys. Let's look at some of our quarterback rankings going into week number 11. It's probably going to be all the same, to be honest with you, except for the ones that we've lost to injuries. Fantasy rankings have come out and they are definitely on the par. It's not too much change since last week, but let's take a look at who we have lined up for the number. And I'm going to go in reverse from the number 20 position on up. Number 20 is Matthew Stafford. Number 19, Baker Mayfield. Above him, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson easing himself up from a lower level from before. He's now number 17. Trevor Lawrence is number 16. Joshua Dobbs, hold on. Joshua Dobbs, who was benched last week by the Arizona Cardinals in anticipation of Kyler Murray returning, got picked up by the Minnesota Vikings due to Kirk Cousins' injury. And the Vikings are undefeated with Joshua Dobbs. So sometimes things just work in your favor. Congratulations to him. He's eking on up now to the number 15 position. Number 14, Justin Fields, who is in and out of Chicago. And in honesty, they're not sure if he's going to come back. They're expecting him to come back this week, but he has not played every game. You guys know he's been battling like some injuries off and on. Number 13, Brock Purdy. And I cannot believe why he'd be 13 because honestly, Brock is good, but maybe it's because the 49ers have lost some games that we just could not believe they lost. Brock Purdy, number 13, Sam Howell, Washington Commanders. Don't sleep on Sam. I have him in my fantasy, and he has not disappointed. Sam Howell moves up to number 12. Number 11, Jared Goff. Just because of the quarterback that he is, Jared is eking up to that 10 mark real fast. Number 10, still hanging in there, Joe Burrow. Number 9, Kyler Murray, coming back in and is already in the top 10. Congrats to you, Kyler. You're definitely getting it done. Number 8, Justin Herbert. Number 7, Tua Tagovailoa. Down there with those fans. Number 6, congratulations, CJ Stroud. I'm just so proud of him as a rookie. You're in the top 10. Number 6, CJ Stroud. Number 5, Dak Prescott. Number 4, Josh Allen, despite him having so many interceptions right now and looking as a figment of himself on Sunday, he still is in the top 10. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Number 2, you guys could probably guess number 2 and number 1. They're interchangeable sometimes. Number 2, Jalen Hurts. And number 1, Patrick Mahomes. So if you got any of those quarterbacks in your fantasy, you are banking right now. Let's take a look at the fantasy players coming up while we are looking at this for the weekly rankings. You guys, I have to switch my people out all the time. And, if you don't put that thing on auto draft, because this is my first time doing a fantasy, if you don't put it on auto and you're trying to do manual and you mess around and you forget, you are screwed, especially with people that are having bye weeks now, the teams that are doing bye weeks more often now. I had one week that my backup and my main person was on a bye week, and that's poor management when I drafted. So when I start drafting, next year, I'll be more, it's my first year. I had to do something. So let's look at who we got now. Patrick Mahomes in that number 1 position is projected to get 4.2 points for week 11. Now, overall, he has 21 points, but he's only projected to get 4.2. That's really, really shocking. But I don't make the rules. I'm just looking at the pff.com website that has the players' rankings on there. Excuse me, guys. Now, if you want to look at who some really good backups for other positions, Tanner Hudson and Mark Andrews. Now, they're supposed to be a good matchup for the tight end position. Who knows? Who knows? This is just what you need to check out. You need to check out pff.com so that they can let you know who you may need to be looking at if you miss it yourself. All right, let's skip on over and talk a little bit about some college football. Now, I live in Georgia, as most of you know. I'm a UGA fan for Georgia. Georgia, the interchangeable 1 and 2 position for the college football rankings, has now been put in the top position. Now, Georgia is back-to-back champion, and it is extremely hard to go back-to-back. I think they could go for a third, but it is suggested that they may not. After all, they've lost a lot of key players to the NFL, and they are looking good. They've had some close calls, though, you guys. So we'll see. The AP top 25, I'll just give you the top 10. Georgia is number 1, followed by Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Louisville, and Oregon State rounds out the top 10 position. We have to talk about the Michigan scandal, you guys. What are your thoughts about Coach Harbaugh being suspended again just to prevent him from being on the field? Now, y'all know he just came back from service suspension. I'm like, was he even there for 2 games? But he's out for the whole sign stealing thing. But he can coach during the week, but he cannot be on the sidelines. And did y'all see the end of the game when the interim coach got down? Tears and all. It was so well warranted, I'm assuming. But they had this hashtag on Twitter, #bet. Some little inside thing they have that basically knows they're banking on each other and they believe in Coach Harbaugh. So the rumor mill was they don't know if he's going to stay. He's been wanting to come back to the NFL for quite some time. We'll see. His brother's been here for quite a while, and Coach Harbaugh was here years ago. I wish he could come to the Panthers, y'all. Just a little plug. I wish we could get him to the Panthers. That's a story for another day. All right. Georgia is 10-0 overall. At home, they are 7-0. At away, they are 2-0. They are just perfect on their season. So is Michigan. But they are 6-0 at home. Ohio State, 10-0, 5-0 at home, 5-0 away. Florida State, 10-0, 5-0 at home, 4-0 away. Excuse me. Washington, 10-0. It only starts to drop in position number 6 with Oregon, 9-1, 6-1, 6-0 at home, 3-1 away. Texas, 9-1, 5-0, 4-0. Alabama, 9-1, 5-1, 4-0. Louisville, shockingly, 9-1, 6-0, and 1-1. And Oregon State, 8-2, 5-0, 3-2. You guys should put in the chat right now what your thoughts are on this entire college. Do you think Georgia has what it takes to go back a third time? That would be a trifecta. I'd be super excited about it. And speaking of college football, you guys, excuse me, what are your thoughts on the Prime effect? Now, a lot of people were hyping him up when he went to Colorado. I mean, he brought out all the stars, all the glamour, all the glitz, all the rappers, all the other ballers. I mean, everyone was out there supporting him. He wore his shades, sunglasses during his interviews, headsets, everything. And all that has changed. In fact, they have now dropped 5 in a row. And as such, a couple of players have now officially decommitted from going to Colorado. Not that they say they're not going to go, but they just want to, quote, leave their options open because they don't know whether or not they're going to actually attend Colorado since now everything is just falling apart out there. Some key players to watch for college. And you guys know I'm all about notes. And so I like to always have my facts together. And today, if we ended today, the people that we would most basically see right now that are doing the best, of course, Carson Beck, UGA. Are we even surprised about that? Now, ESPN is already putting up their recruiting numbers for the 2024 season. But, anything could change from week to week, just like it's in the NFL. It could always, always change. Now, these are the highest graded players at every position for week 10 on the college level. Jaden Daniels, are we surprised? The LSU quarterback is the highest graded in the country this year. Audric Estime, the Notre Dame junior, paces all of the running backs with a 91.5 grade. Tyler Nubin, one of the top safeties in the 2024 NFL draft, so look out for him, is also the highest graded safety in college football. And the thing about a lot of people, if you look at the roles that they play, it's extremely competitive because in college, they're doing it because they are enjoying it and they're trying to get to the league. It's not a job yet. Yes, they have name and likeness type deals and things like that, but they are still on the level where they're having fun. But scouts are always out there. Now, some of the other people, now I know people probably like, what about Caleb Williams? Unfortunately, he's not on the top on this list, but he's up there. Now we have some wide receivers, Malik Neighbors from LSU as well. LSU is just a decent team, even though they didn't make the top 10 that I gave out. They're in the list, no worries. There was tight end Power 5, AJ Barner from Michigan Wolverines, who scored at a 90.5. And then offensive tackles. We don't talk about them too much. We have Talise Forgay from Oregon State Beavers, 89.9 ranking. And the Air Force Falcons have Adam Karras at an 85.1 from the group of 5. Now, the offensive guards, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, have an 86.5 ranking in Michael Juergens. And Clay Webb from Jacksonville State Gamecocks is 88.8. And the center position, don't count out the Oregon Ducks, Jackson Powers, 81.6. Now, let's talk about some information on the UGA Tennessee game that is coming up. Now, that is going to be a very big game in Knoxville this week coming up. And thank you, everybody. I see your comments. Thank y'all so much. You're right. You're right. I appreciate that, everybody on the feedback. So, Georgia versus Tennessee is a big game. Now, the Vols at Neyland are not to be mistaken. Now, they may be 7-3, But you guys know how everybody steps up when it comes time to playing those rivals. And a little small preview of what to expect coming up. If the prediction is it's going to be a very close game. The predictions are, in fact, as follows. According to Sports Illustrated, 9 hours ago, they are saying it's going to be a clash of the SEC East rivals, and it's probably going to be one of the highest viewed games. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Now, Georgia did move back to the number one position in college football playoff rankings, jumping ahead of Ohio State after 2 wins against ranked opponents. The Bulldogs are the top 10 nationally in scoring, defense, and offense, averaging 40.6 points per game and only allowing 15.6 points from the opposition. Now, UGA has already clinched the East Division and will definitely play Alabama in the SEC Championship. I think that game is slated for December 2nd. Nonetheless, it is definitely the first week of December, and they will meet up in that championship game. Now, the Tennessee Volunteers were sliding down in their CFP rankings, and they lost 36-7 to Missouri, falling to 3-3 in the SEC and into third place in the East Division standings. But I say all that to say, you guys know none of that matters. And I see what you're saying about Ohio State. They probably will. They probably will, Mr. Fernandez. And hello as well to my niece Gwen. Thank you for shouting me out. Ohio State just knows to come back. Now, the predictions with the Georgia-Tennessee game, let's stay with that for just a second. This week, the index for the College Football Power Index are favoring Georgia to win in a 69.3% of its simulations. So you guys know everybody's into this AI stuff, and it's all about predictions, including how the NFL comes up with their own schedule. But in their projection, Georgia is predicted to win 69.3% of the simulations, and they've had like 13,000 combinations of what could possibly happen. So I don't know. That looks like that's about right. Tennessee would possibly win 30% of those times out of 6,000 predictions. Now, the FBI predicts that Georgia has the second best chance to win the SEC championship and win 12 games this season. And it also projects that Tennessee will only win 8. Now, when you take the difference of those two and you look at the computer factors in, Georgia will defeat Tennessee by 8.8 points. Not enough to cover the spread on the sportsbook bets, because the sportsbooks are bidding that the Bulldogs are going to edge out by 10 points. So if you guys are into, placing your bets and stuff, that's just a little plug for you guys. Don't expect any surprises other than what we've already seen. A part of me wants to think that, okay, yeah, Tennessee got beat really bad, but Georgia has struggled a few times. The Georgia offense, they are doing really well with, they had to replace their quarterback. And so when you have a new quarterback, it's a learning curve. But Carson Beck has really gotten in there and looks good, y'all. And let's be honest, Kirby Smart's recruiting game is off the Richter. He's not just going to recruit Joe Blow out there. He's recruiting people that can stand in the gap, and they've done a really good job of doing so. Now, let's look at some stats for Georgia, and then we're going to creep on over and look at Alabama, and we'll also look at South Carolina, and we'll look at Michigan. All right. Now, right now, Georgia has had 5,000 yards averaged per game, you guys. Unbelievable. 50 touchdowns. And their opponents have only had 20 touchdowns. So it's been some close games there. That's a lot of yards. That's a lot of touchdowns. But yeah. So let's skip on over now and let's look at Alabama stats. Alabama, Crimson Tide football. I know I got a lot of Roll Tides out there. So they've had an up and down season, but they have really proved to be the winner in every situation. Shockingly, they had a close call against Arkansas and they beat them October 14th by 3 points. But everyone else, they kind of stood up on that. Now, right now, they're first in the SEC West. They are ahead of Mississippi and LSU, as well as Texas A&M and Auburn, Mississippi State, and Arkansas, all in that division. And Alabama is 7-0 right now, 9-1 overall, and 5-1 at home. But they are 4-0 away, and they have an 8-game win streak. So Alabama's going to be bringing the heat. And because of that, it is projected that it will be very difficult for Georgia to win that third time in a row. Now, it's so weird because they've talked about Alabama jumping Texas in the CFP rankings, how that would look like. And you guys know that's something that comes out like every Tuesday. And they have the different polls, and they have the coaches that vote on it. And then they also have the actual rankings. Now, despite Alabama not moving up in the rankings from before, the Crimson Tide did feel like by Georgia moving above Ohio State, that's what Crimson Tide needed so that they could definitely face the Bulldogs for the SEC championship. Now, they were hoping for a bump with the latest playoff rankings, but they didn't get it. But they were not surprised because when the selection committee left Alabama one behind Texas at number 8, they were just like, oh, well, next. Alabama is definitely been on something. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Nick Saban is like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the last couple of seasons when he didn't, get where he was supposed to be going, Mr. Alabama Crimson Tide himself, he was almost like on every show doing all the announcing and everything. He almost went like on a little campaign, basically saying that his boy should have been there, and all that kind of thing. I believe in all the advocating about all of that, but Nick Saban is the best of the best. And there's a history and a connection between him, Kirby Smart, and everybody else in the SEC. If you think about it, everyone at some point worked with someone else, coached with someone else, was with someone else. And so that's how they all get as well as they are. Now, this is going to have to be left up to the time. Time is just going to have to tell us all. No one can know because just like in the NFL, it's any given Sunday, it's any given football game. Now let's check out South Carolina. Some of you guys, Gamecocks, have just been on a roller coaster. From the Missouri loss in October, Texas A&M beat them down the end of October. They beat Jack State. Then they mollywhopped Vanderbilt just Friday. And then they play Kentucky coming up. They are 6th in the SEC East. And I don't know, but there is a 11 personnel. Kentucky is looking to get back on track versus South Carolina. So Kentucky's coming in with their A game. They're just like, okay, we know South Cac is trying to do what they got to do, but we got something to do as well. So South Carolina needs to watch out and be mindful of that Kentucky defense. You guys, there was a lot of stuff going on, and it's alleged that according to tigernet.com, Donald Trump may be coming to the Clemson South Carolina game. I wouldn't be surprised. So that's going to be interesting to see. But Clemson, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, all of those. Now, Clemson, they're ranked 9th in the Atlantic Coast Division right now, but they still have that nice little rivalry going. And Clemson has also had a sketchy season. They lost to Miami. They also lost to North Carolina State. They did beat Notre Dame. That was a good game. I watched that one. And they mollywhopped Georgia Tech last week. And they are coming up to play UNC Chapel Hill coming up Saturday. But they will be playing South Carolina, Thanksgiving week. So next Saturday, Thanksgiving week, they're going to be playing. So that's going to be a huge game amongst those two South Carolina teams. And yeah. All right. So some fantasy players. Let me go back to the NFL while I get it ready to wrap up to let you guys know who your fantasy players are for this week. Because they change, I'm going to make sure I look. I have my notes. I have who I have, but let's just make sure we got them all down because they change. So the fantasy NFL players for week number 11. These are the people that you need to start or sit for the running back. Now, start or sit is one of those things you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Start or sit. Saquon Barkley, excuse me. People are not sure at this point. He was a sure start. I saw someone had him on their fantasy, and he's no longer there. And times are tough up there in New York. Now, Tony Pollard, they're saying that last week the Cowboys was going so crazy. It was like everybody was getting touchdowns. Now, Tony Pollard is going to be against the Panthers this week. And in actuality, the Panthers have given up the second most fantasy points per game. If Pollard does not get hit there, then he'll have a real serious issue the rest of the season. Brian Robinson against the New York Giants coming up. It's also someone you need to be mindful of if you should sit or start. He only ran for 38 yards last week, and it didn't even matter. So you can play him, but be mindful. Darrell Henderson against the Seahawks. Go ahead and grab him because he's supposedly a hot commodity if you can grab him. But if you need a deeper option, go with Devin Singletary because he rushed 30 times for 150 yards and a touchdown. And with them going against the Cardinals, he's probably going to definitely be good to go. Sit these people. Rachaad White, Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the 49ers. They just said if you got somebody else to swap with him, go ahead and do that. James Cook, and I'm going to tell you guys, I saw James Cook. James Cook from the Buffalo Bills. I was in awe of what was going on. Go ahead and sit him. You can go ahead and just switch him out with someone else for this week, at least, because they're going against the New York Jets. And the Jets have a tendency to look good from time to time. Dante Foreman, Bears and Lions, that's going to be a divisional matchup. And even though he has been running very hot as the back lead for the Bears, you might want to avoid the entire backfield this week because those Lions are going to go clawing all through that Bears line. Alexander Madison, after years of Dalvin Cook, has been the hoo-ha sound down there. Madison exited last week with a concussion, so he might not even be active to begin with. So make sure, even though he racked up some points for you guys, that you go ahead and fit him. All right, you guys. Big games coming up on Sunday, week 11 schedule. I've told you about all the Thanksgiving games coming up. You want to make sure you keep an eye out for all of your division rivalries. All of those teams that are on the cusp of making the playoffs, this is a sink or swim week for you. In the hunt, runners up, all that good stuff. It's a show and prove. Now, I'm be honest, my Panthers are out of it. The sad thing is we're clearly projected to get like the number one pick at this point if the Giants don't get it ahead of us. But guess what, guys? We gave away our first pick for next year too to the Bears. So we're playing for house money at this point. My honest opinion was that, Bryce continued to grow. I was hoping that Dalton would get a few more snaps because he was a really good, influence, and he's a great veteran. But Bryce does need to grow. He does need to learn the system, but we could have got a few wins. Even though when Dalton played, we still didn't win. So I'm just glad Bryce got the one win. And that's going to be about all I have tonight on my show. I'm so glad you guys joined me. Shout out to my makeup artist, Katrina Harris, Beauty and Brows by Trina. She's on Instagram. That's her handle. She does my hair and my makeup. She's here in the Atlanta area. And shout out to Linda and Mac, who allow me this amazing Roku platform. I'm so excited to be here. I will be here every Wednesday at the same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please share this with everyone you know who loves the NFL and college football. And thank you to my audience members who've joined me from before and all of my new audience members. I look forward to a lasting relationship with you all. And with that, be safe, be well, and I will see you all next week. And before I go, I have to dedicate my first online show to my uncle Edward Walker, who is no longer with me, but watched me from the beginning 7 years ago when I first started this platform and believed in me. Sadly, I lost him right before Christmas 2018. In ironic fashion, today I got a notification that he was, quote, waiting to hear from me in my Marco Polo. And I'd never gotten that notification before. So, Uncle, this one's for you. All right, you guys have a good night. Be safe and good luck to your team.